Hi everyone, this is Ray with the education team from Swirlydoos Kit Club, and today I'm going to be sharing with you some things that I'm doing to my mini album that I've made using the Bohemian Spring Kit, which is from the May 2014 project add-on. So this is what I've done so far, and I made a video on how to do this faux glass. And what I've learned is it takes a long time to dry. This is still coming up in some spaces. I think it just needs to dry for a few days. So I have this acrylic part, but on the inside it's chipboard, which makes it a lot easier for planning. Everyone says that mini albums take a really long time to make, and they kind of do, but I'm hoping to share some tips with you so that you can maybe do it a little quicker. I think as long as you have a plan, it will go by much more quickly. So to start with, I'm going to finish the inside of my acrylic album. For this part, I'm just going to leave it completely blank on the back. It doesn't need anything. I think it looks pretty cool just the way that it is. But on the outside of the top cover, I have this right here, and I'm not very fond of it, to be honest. And so it needs something. And when I was making the outside of the album, I always make extra die cuts because I'm never quite sure what colors I want to make. And so I used this piece of paper from the kit that I thought I would put there, but it didn't really go. I'm going to end up using it right here. And because it's on the inside, I don't have to worry about getting glue on the very outskirts of that. I just want to double check on the outside to make sure it's not too off. That looks pretty good. So this is a nice place to add the title of my mini album. I've already decided what I'm going to use this for, and I'm going to use it for pictures that I took, or that everybody took, at the camp, at Swirlydoos Camp in 2013. And so I thought I would add some of these little pieces from the collectibles, and that came in the embellishment kit for the kaleidoscope papers. And so I've already inked and distressed these. Better like that, and then I'll be able to fill that in. I might put some little tiny text alphabets, or I might just write it in. Either way it's fine, but I can go back and do that later. Okay, so in the kit you also get some chipboard inserts. You get 4, and I've already covered these with black gesso. It's going to be completely covered except for these little fancy parts. You have options. You could actually take a file, like one of those basic gray files like this, and sand around and have your paper go all the way to the edge. But I think it looks pretty decorative if I just push the paper all the way to here, and then this part's sticking out. So that's what I plan to do. So I've already covered all 4 of these with black gesso on both sides and let it dry. And this gives me some freedom, so when I cut my paper, if it's a little short, at least you'll have this black background instead of a craft color, because I don't really want that on my album. So with all of those primed, I can move on and I can start decorating. And I've already done the first one, or at least the first side of the cover, and this is what I've decided to do. And I'm going to do this throughout, and I think this is a helpful tip because if you're wasting a lot of time or you're spending a lot of time doing your mini albums and you don't know what you're going to do on every page, I think that can really take a lot of time. But if you come up with a plan and make all of the pages first and just basically make them flat, then you can just start adding stuff to it. And what I mean is that on this page, what I decided to do on every single one of these pages is that I'm going to make 2 layers here. So I have this piece of paper, and then I have the green stuff that came in the main kit, this bling strips that I've cut up, and I also have this piece of paper right here. So I've got a lot already going on, and if I do that on all of my papers, then I pretty much have a really good base for adding my stuff. So for this first page, what I wanted to show you about the acrylic, and then I'll move on, is that you're going to be able to see that. And even though it has this goosebumps stuff on here, that's still really prevalent. So what I'm going to do to kind of counteract that, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to help, is I'm just going to add a piece of vellum paper, and this has you can see that it has some little flourishes on there. It's just from my stash, and it just adds so much. And when I make a mini album, I like to go through and do stages. I'm going to cover all of my sheets, all of my chipboard pieces with paper, and then I'm going to start adding stuff. I did the first page so that you could see what that was going to look like in front of the acrylic, or behind the acrylic rather, and I'm going to add some more stuff to that. What I want to do is, I ran out of printer ink, so I couldn't print my pictures and put it on here right now. But here's a picture size. I have a Canon selfie, and this is one of the sizes that it prints out. And so I'm going to use this size throughout the whole album. And I think that's helpful too, because then you can find your paper mats just with all of your scraps that you have. And then you can fill that up, and things will go a lot more quickly. So if I added that there, of course I want a paper mat. Let me see. Okay, so here's one that I have. It's just from some scrap pieces from the Kaleidoscope collection, and I'm going to set that there. And I've already cut up white sheets of paper that are the same exact size as my pictures, so that I can just go back and add those after I get done when I buy some printer ink. So basically, never mind the picture, he's cute, but that's not the subject of the album. So my intention is to add some flowers, and then just add a little title right here. This picture right here is going to be the picture that we took in front of the paper doll house at our retreat. And so I'm going to put something here that says either Together or Swirly Girls or whatever. But I'll add that, and then that will be the first page. And this is a chipboard from Blue Fern Studios. I just thought it looked cool. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I did this part right here to get these layers. Okay, so what I did is I measured my chipboard piece, and the dimensions that I want are 6 3/4 this way. And so I have 6 3/4 by 1.5 inches, and I've taken border punches. I've got this one and this one that I'm using just to create lots of layers and dimensions here. So I have that 1.5 inches piece right here, and I'm just going to add it, and I'm going to go up. You can see. There we go. You can see that there's little holes from there. And I'm just going to add this to where it somewhat overlaps. And then I have this piece from the main kit, and I've put some score tape on there. I've already cut to measure. I just want to make sure I've got that right. Okay, so I've got that right there. It's still overlapping with some of that punch work. And then add this layer. And of course I've already distressed and inked these, and so I can just pull this up a little bit so that some more of that green bling is exposed. And so I'm going to need to do that for the rest of my pages. So I'll just show you all of the pages now that I have this set up. They're pretty much the same, they just have the different papers on there. And I like this one on the back because this is what it looks like until I start putting some stuff on there. But it blends very nicely with that. But for the rest of them, all I need to do now is to add my stuff on each one of the pages. And I already started with the first one, and I'll give you a couple more tips about mini albums. Because at this point, all you're really doing is filling it up with your pictures, and then you can start adding the embellishments. So I did the first page, and I probably wouldn't add too much more to this besides the photo. And what I've done is these flowers are glued down because I don't need to move those at all. But something like this I put glue dots on, just so that I can remind myself of where it needs to be. And then when I print these pictures out soon, hopefully tomorrow, I'll just be able to put those in there and go along through the whole album. Now, if I were going to not make this specific, and if I didn't know what I wanted to do with this, but I still wanted to make sure that I finished it, I would still put these photo mats throughout, but I probably wouldn't add too much more. But if I did, I would keep my photo mats where I want them to go, so I could just do this next page. And because I already have those matted, I can just stick the photos in there at any point in time. So I'll probably do something like that. Not sure, but when I do figure it out, I'll either take a photograph of it, or hopefully I'll have my pictures printed to where I'll just be able to put those in. And then I'll add my little tiny details, like with my small flowers, just to complete the look. And the last thing I wanted to share with you about doing mini albums, and of course this is just my opinion, but because I have flowers all the way over here on the inner part of the mini album, when I go to my next page, if I'm going to put any flowers or make something really chunky, I want to concentrate on the opposite side so that all of my chunkiness isn't all in one space from page to page, if that makes sense. Because then I'm just going to have chunky, 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 and then it's going to look kind of funny when I'm trying to put this on a shelf. But if I concentrated on putting my bulk, if I go back and forth, like I put it right here, and then I'll go on the inside right here, then I'll be fine and it won't look too funky. So I hope I gave you some tips on finishing mini albums, and I'll show you the completed one when I get my pictures printed. Thanks for watching.